welcome to the new academic year and the first episode of Metropole Live for 2020-2021. So, as you can see, things are a little bit different as we return to school safely this year. The readiness plan has been shared with you guys, the community, and many of you had questions sent in to our Parent Relations Executive Hire. So, I've got the questions and I've got 4 special guests for you today who will be answering the questions from you guys, the community. So, we have Miss Joanne Vickers, the Head of Primary. We have Mr. Mark McAdam, the Head of Secondary. We have the Vice Principal, Adam Hassoun, and we also have the School MSO, Mr. Russell Foster. So, let's get asking those questions to the people who can answer them. Thank you everyone for joining me. These are obviously the questions that have been sent through to us, and it's really nice that you come on to answer these to the community. So, I'm going to go straight in with a question. And Joanne, really, one of the things that keeps being asked is, what does this returning to school look like for FS?
Okay, hi Alex. So FS will be in school 100% of the time. Each class will be divided into 2 groups in 2 different classrooms. There's going to be 1 teacher and 1 teaching assistant to support each class. Children in the classes will not mix. The teacher and TA will work across both classes to ensure the children are always supervised. The teacher will teach across both groups, ensuring a high quality of provision.
Okay, and is that the same across primary as well?
Similar, years 1 to 3 will also be 100% in school. So for year 1, their classes will be split into 3 groups of no more than 10 students, and each class will have 1 teacher and 2 teaching assistants to support them. Year 2 and 3 will be split into 2 groups across 2 classrooms and have 1 teacher and 1 TA per class. Again, the children in the classes will not mix with other children. Teachers will give the lesson input to each group of children, and the TA will support the group working independently. Just like in a normal lesson that happens in school, the teacher will continually assess the children across the 2 rooms. They will give the extra input to students who need it, and they will offer extra challenge to the students who need extension.
That's really clear. How does this differ in year 4 to 6?
Okay, so years 4 to 6, they're going to be following a blended approach with 50% face-to-face learning in school and 50% remote learning, where they will access live lessons from home. Half of the students are going to be coming to school on a Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday, and the remaining half will be in school on a Monday and Wednesday. This will rotate each week and provide a continuation of learning. What days your son or daughter will be in school will be communicated to you next week by the class or their lead teacher.
Brilliant. This blended learning approach, Mark, is that the same in secondary?
Yeah, hi Alex. In years 7 to 9, we'll follow a very similar approach and model to that of primary in years 4 to 6 that Joanne has just explained. It will be the blended approach, so it will have that face-to-face learning, and 50% of that will be face-to-face and 50% of that will be remote learning at school, accessing live lessons. Students will remain in their designated classrooms and teachers will travel to the students. In key stage 4 and 5, it will look very different. So in years 10 to 13, all learning will take place on the school site and students will be in school each day. We are extremely proud that we can offer this provision to our exam classes. So in essence, our year 10 to 13 students will be in school 100% of the time. Okay? Where possible, students will remain in the same classrooms. However, due to the nature of selecting options, there will be movement from classroom to classroom for some subjects within the year group bubble. Okay?
Okay, just to pick up on that, that's really good. And you said about years 10 to 13. Adam, they're doing this 100% model at the top end of the school. Why did the school not request for this 100% model across FS all the way through?
Hi, Alex. The KHDA dictates the parameters around the reopening of schools. We have aimed to get as many children in full-time as possible without compromising their health and safety. The ratio of teachers to children, social distancing and rules, distancing rules and facility space are the main factors that we consider when making our plans. We do understand the constraints for our parents that are working, and therefore we have maximised every resource that we have to get as many children in school as possible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So John and Mark both spoke about a blended learning approach, Alan. How does this work for families that have siblings in the school?
Well, unfortunately, we are unable to guarantee that siblings will follow the same daily schedule under the 50-50 blended model. However, we will try our very best to synchronise their timetables as much as logistically possible. If parents are having difficulties after checking their children's timetable, they can reach out to their class teacher and we will do our very best to accommodate.
Yeah, and you can see there's a lot of organisation and planning that's gone into this structure across FS through to post-16, but is there any reason why the blended learning plan and the remote learning plan came out so late in the year?
Yeah, well, COVID-19 is rapidly evolving. It was unclear what the situation would be like at the start of term one, so it wasn't really possible to make plans any earlier. It was necessary for the KHA to wait as long as possible before sharing reopening guidance with schools. We spent the summer preparing for a number of different scenarios, but needed to wait for confirmation for specific parameters set by the KHA. As soon as our readiness plan was approved, we shared the information with our community, so that was at the earliest possible opportunity.
Okay, and kind of delving down more into this, what this learning looks like in the school and at home. Joanne, how will teachers be able to teach students at home and in school with this blended learning approach?
Yeah, so teachers in year 4 to 9 will teach the students at home simultaneously with students in the classroom. Children at home will use Microsoft Teams to access the live lessons taking place in school. During the independent time, the teacher will work between the groups just as they would do in a regular lesson. Sometimes they will focus on students in the classroom to support them, and sometimes they will focus on the students at home.
Okay, so we've got this blended learning approach. So we've got some children that are in school on their specific days, some learning from home. What happens with the children that are doing 100% distance learning? Because that was an option as well.
Okay, this varies depending on the year group. So children in foundation stage, year 1 and year 2, who choose 100% online learning will be taught by a dedicated teacher. We felt it was important that at this age, as the children are still developing independent skills, they had a dedicated face-to-face teacher. While this teacher will not be the class teacher they've been assigned to, they will be an experienced teacher, an experienced member of staff who's worked at Metropole for a long time. We guarantee, though, that on return to school, your child will return to the class they have been assigned to during the enrolment process. So that's a teacher that they've already met in the Meet the Teacher session. Children in years 3 to 9 who are 100% online learning will access the live lessons as we've explained previously.
Very clear. I think obviously some of our parents are working and have work schedules. Can parents choose which FS groups their children are going into?
Okay, so unfortunately, logistically, we have to balance the numbers, so to take requests will be virtually impossible at this point.
So it's kind of the limitations that are there, isn't it? How can parents be expected to follow a 50-50 learning model if they don't have any domestic help or a family member to provide that care while they're at work?
Yeah, good question, Alex. And I've spoke to a number of families about this already, and we completely understand this difficult situation for parents. What we are hoping in the coming weeks is that the restrictions will loosen, and this will allow us for more of our students to return to schools. But at this current stage, our number one priority is the safety of the whole school community when on school site. And this is the reason why, like Adam has already said, we are communicating this message to parents as soon as we've been given the go-ahead by KHDA and our readiness plan, so they can make arrangements for their children to be supervised where necessary. We do appreciate that this is not ideal for parents, and we will continue to monitor the situation daily and weekly, and we hope to open up more spaces when it is safe to do so.
Yeah, and you can see that safety is at the kind of forefront of everything that's been put in place. So Adam, can parents decide to keep their children at home 100% of the time?
Yes, I'm pleased to say that we are offering a 100% distance learning model as well. This is completely at the discretion of parents and a decision that should be primarily made due to health concerns. A link has already been sent to parents for them to express an interest in this option. The parents that sign up on the link will soon receive a final opportunity to either opt in or out, and some more details regarding this.
Okay, I'll stick with you here, Adam, but I suppose the other side of that question is, can parents change their mind once they've decided that they want to keep their children and do 100% distance learning at home? Can they then bring them back into school? And if so, what classes would they be placed in?
Yes, yeah, of course they can. So parents are allowed to change their mind. We would prefer and recommend that they commit to 1 month of distance learning at a time. We want to ensure consistency for the children, and it will also enable us to reintegrate the groups of children together. So 1 month at a time, and then they can come back in. Children will remain in the class that they were assigned at the start of the year. So when they go back into school, they will stay with the class teacher they were assigned previously.
And one final question thrown at you here, Adam, and this is almost the $1 million question. When will children return to school fully?
Yeah, that's the big question. So of course, as a school, we don't know. This is solely the decision of the KHDA and will be dependent on the current COVID-19 situation. But as soon as we know, we'll inform our community right away.
So Mark, Adam's talked a bit about how children can be 100% at home. That seems to seem that you can, there'll be more spaces in school, and if parents opt to keep their children at home, why there can't be more spaces opened up for children to be physically in school?
Yeah, and that's another great question, Alex. And I suppose we do recognise that some families are reluctant and nervous about sending their students back to school, and that's the reason why we've offered a full-time remote learning option. As you've alluded to, this might increase capacity, but as of yet, this has not been verified by the numbers. But rest assured, we are continually assessing the situation, and we're assessing our learning model, and we do plan to make any necessary changes to support families in the coming weeks, if at all possible.
Brilliant. And Joanne, this question is probably the one that the students are asking more than anyone else, but are the children going to be placed in groups with their friends?
We know the children have missed their friend tremendously, and that's probably the most exciting part of school for some children. So the teacher will divide their class into groups. They will speak to previous teachers to discuss the friendship groups and previous leaders. However, the number one factor again will be the safety of the students. We need to ensure there's going to be a balance in each group of things such as the gender, the spread of ability, and siblings, if they want to come on the same day as siblings, and other factors. So what we can say is children will be familiar with many other children in their group. We cannot guarantee they will be with their friends, but we will hopefully place children where they are happy.
Yeah, one of the key words you mentioned there that I want to pick up on was safety, and everything that you guys have talked about is evolved around the safety and things put in place. And Russell, I'm coming to you with this question as the MSO for the school. What precautions have been taken to ensure that children will be safe when we return to school?
Well, that's a good question, Alex. As per KHDA and GEMS Health and Safety, thermal imaging cameras have been fitted, and all staff, students and parents that come into school will have their temperature taken. Masks will be worn by anyone over the age of 6 years old. Extra hand sanitisers have been fitted throughout the school, more than 150 new units, and classes will be running at 50% capacity to allow for social distancing. Also, there will be extra cleaning measures and sanitising throughout the school all day.
You can see from the clarity in your answers that these is a very organised plan. And one of the things you talked about there is the cameras, the thermal imaging cameras. So what happens if a child turns up to school and their temperature is too high?
Well, they will immediately, if they're showing symptoms, they will be isolated. A parent and guardian will be notified, and the patient will be referred to a hospital.
Okay, so we talked about what happens if their temperature is too high when they come to school. But what happens if a child or a staff member tests positive for this COVID-19 during term time?
Well, unfortunately, they will not be allowed back until they are tested negative. And then also we will have to put in procedures of the track and trace procedure will be initiated with appropriate action taken.
Okay. So Russell, what safety precautions are STS taking to protect the children?
Well, the buses will be running at 50% capacity, so that will allow for social distancing. All the buses will be sanitised before every trip, and bus guardians have all been on COVID training.
Fantastic. You can see from speaking to yourself, Russell, Adam, Joanne, Mark, that everything in place has safety at the forefront of the plan. and that everything's being put in place to make sure that coming back to school is both beneficial educationally and safe for the children. So thank you all for answering the questions today, and we will get more questions to the community for you soon. But thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
It was great today to have the opportunity to have your questions from the community answered by the different leaders of the school. And something that really stood out for me is that those answers all had the same theme running through them, that staff and student safety is at the core of the readiness plan, and that the premium British education is built upon those core values of safety first. So if you have any other questions, please pop them in the comments section below on Facebook or YouTube, or contact our Parent Relations Officer, Hire, and we'll make sure that those questions are answered for you. But until the next episode of Metropole Live, I wish you a good week, and I'll see you this time next week. Goodbye.